All right, buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into a story that has more twists and turns than your average political thriller.
That's right. Get ready for a wild ride.
We're talking potential scandals, hidden connections, and a confidential report that has everyone in Jamaica talking.
We're taking a deep dive into a report by Jamaica's Integrity Commission.
The Integrity Commission, for those who don't know, they're kind of like the financial watchdogs for public officials, making sure everyone's playing by the rules. And guess who's at the center of this investigation? None other than Prime Minister Andrew
Well,
Holness.
exactly.
And trust me, this report is juicy.
Well, it's a doozy.
It all started back in September 2022 when someone, and we don't know who, dropped a little bombshell on the commission. They alleged some potentially shady dealings were going on. Where it goes from there is fascinating.
So, like any good detective would, the commission started digging. They pulled bank statements, dug into company records, even got on the phone with bank officials. And guess what they found?
What's that?
A whole network of companies, all with links right back to Mr. Holness. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break this down. What kinds of companies are we talking about?
So there's this company, it's called Imperium Investments Holdings Limited. And this appears to be Mr. Holness's primary holding company, the one managing a good chunk of his assets.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds pretty normal, right? Lots of people have holding companies.
Right, on the surface, maybe, but here's where it gets interesting. When you start to follow the money flowing in and out of Imperium, that's when a commission started noticing connections to another company, this one called Positive Media Solutions Limited.
Positive Media Solutions. That name rings a bell for some reason.
It might. Now, initially, Positive Media was presented as being funded by Imperium in a pretty straightforward relationship.
Right.
But when the commission followed the money trail a little further, the transactions suggested something much more complex, much more intertwined, like someone was trying to blur the lines just a bit too much.
Ooh, okay, I see where this is going. And to think, we're just at the beginning. What else did they find?
Oh, we're just getting started. See, there's another company that pops up, Estate Bridge Development Limited. And this one is interesting because it's a real estate venture with direct links to government agencies that fall under Mr. Holness's own ministry.
Hold on, wait. So the Prime Minister might have a financial stake in a company that's doing business with his own ministry? That seems like a pretty big conflict of interest.
That's what I'm saying. And that's where that term red flags starts popping up in the report a lot. These three companies, how they're connected, the money flowing between them, it all seems a little too convenient, a little too murky for the commission's liking.
So the commission starts waving these metaphorical red flags. I bet that's when things get really interesting.
You have no idea. The deeper they dug, the more questions they uncovered. And trust me, some of these discoveries are real head-scratchers.
Okay, you've got me on the edge of my seat here. We've got this web of companies. We've got the intrigue. Tell me, what were those red flags the Integrity Commission uncovered? What didn't add up?
Well, if you remember, we were talking about those companies being just a little bit too close for comfort. The report points out a few specific examples where things just don't seem quite right. For instance, you know how the commission was looking at all those bank statements?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out Mr. Holness initially forgot to mention a few of his accounts to the Integrity Commission.
Forgot.
Forgot. And one of these accounts just happened to have millions of dollars flowing through it.
Oh, wow. Forgot, he says. I have to say, I rarely forget about accounts with that kind of cash just lying around.
Right. It certainly raises some eyebrows.
Uh-huh.
And it gets even more interesting. Remember Positive Media Solutions, the company that was supposed to be primarily funded by Imperium?
Like, do you...
Well, despite raking in significant money, Positive Media filed a nil tax return. They claim they made zero profit.
Wait, so they're bringing in all this cash but not making any profit? How does that even work? Where's it all going?
That's a very good question, the million-dollar question, you might say. And luckily, the report gives us a possible clue. They found another company, Green Rolled Trading Limited, that's funneling large loans to Positive Media.
Green Emerald Trading Limited. The name sounds more like a Bond villain's side hustle than a real company. What's the deal with these loans?
Well, for one thing, the loan repayment amounts don't really match up with the original loan amounts. And to top it off, the explanations for those discrepancies are, how do I put this, less than convincing. Almost like someone was trying to muddy the waters.
So let me get this straight. We've got questionable loans, conveniently missing bank accounts, and a company swimming in cash while claiming to make zero profit.
Yeah.
Is there a common theme here? Because I'm starting to see a pattern.
You're catching on. It all points to one major issue: a serious lack of transparency and a blatant disregard for basic financial practices. It's almost as if someone was playing a high-stakes game of financial hide-and-seek, and the Integrity Commission was closing in.
And how about that mysterious $72 million that went from Imperium to Positive Media? Any answers on that front?
You're talking about the $72 million question, literally. The report calls this out as a major concern, highlighting the complete lack of documentation and justification for such a massive transfer of money. It's like trying to bake a cake with zero instructions. You've got ingredients, but who knows what they're supposed to make.
Wow. Mr. Holness definitely has some explaining to do. This is starting to feel less like a political thriller and a lot more like a financial crime drama. What are the next steps in a case like this?
So the Integrity Commission doesn't actually have the power to prosecute, but they have recommended a deeper investigation by both the Financial Investigation Division and the Tax Administration Jamaica. These are the people with the real magnifying glasses, and they'll be meticulously going through all of these financial discrepancies to figure out if any laws were actually broken.
What happens if they do find evidence of wrongdoing? What could the consequences be for Mr. Holness?
Well, if they uncover something substantial, it could get real for Mr. Holness very quickly. We could be talking criminal charges, serious political fallout in the works. Don't forget that in the world of politics, even the appearance of inappropriate behavior can be incredibly damaging.
Wow, it really feels like we're at a turning point in this story. What else did the report tell us?
Here's where it gets really interesting. The report brings up this one issue several times. It seems there's a concerning reliance on verbal agreements and instructions, especially regarding these financial dealings.
Verbal agreements. When it comes to money, you're kidding. Isn't everything documented in writing?
You'd think, right? Especially with these large sums of money, you'd assume there'd be a paper trail. And here's the kicker. The report actually highlights a situation where a bank admitted to accepting verbal instructions for a major transaction.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, even though it was against their own policy.
Now, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. It makes you wonder if that was a one-time thing or if this is something that happens more often than they'd like to admit. If they're willing to bend the rules like this out in the open, what else might be happening behind closed doors?
It's certainly a concern. I mean, this entire case highlights just how important transparency and accountability are, especially when we're talking about public funds. It really makes you question the integrity of the whole system.
This has been such a fascinating, albeit concerning, story. We've got a prime minister in the hot seat, a whole web of questionable financial dealings, and a system that seems surprisingly vulnerable to this kind of thing. Where do we go from here? What happens next? And what are the bigger implications of all of this?
Well, the Integrity Commission has done what they can to expose these issues. Now the ball is in the court of other government agencies, the Financial Investigation Division and the Tax Administration Jamaica. All eyes will be on them to see how deep they're willing to dig and what they uncover.
And what about the political fallout? Even if Mr. Holness is cleared of any criminal wrongdoing, this has to have some kind of impact, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. We can't forget about the court of public opinion, which can be just as powerful, if not more so, than any courtroom. This scandal has definitely eroded some of the public's trust. It'll be really interesting to see how Mr. Holness and his administration handle this. Are they going to try to address these concerns head-on, or are they going to try to sweep it all under the rug?
It's a fascinating case study in accountability and a testament to the importance of investigative journalism. Even if this report is just the tip of the iceberg, it has the power to spark real change by exposing what could be a much larger systemic problem.
And that's what we're all about in this deep dive, giving you the information you need to form your own conclusions.
Exactly. It's like we always say, knowledge is power. We've given you the rundown on this confidential report, unpacked these intricate financial transactions, and explored the potential consequences. Now it's up to you to decide what you make of it all.
Don't be afraid to keep asking questions. Stay curious, and who knows what other hidden truths you might unearth.
I love that. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep those brains engaged, and we'll catch you on the flip side.